Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. The Orphan Fleet, written by Chimpanzee Writes. The sound of rain droned on in Theo Marquis's head, heralded by rolling black clouds blocking out the sun. The downpour started earlier that morning. He didn't like rain, but would he miss it? Placing a hand on his chest, he felt his heart beating through his button-up. He tried to focus on slow, deep breaths. Can't let anyone see. The rain hurt his joints and forced him to constantly adjust his stance. Shifting his feet, the rough concrete grabbed the soles of his shoes. He stumbled. It was always his feet that betrayed him. Why did today have to come? "Admiral Marquis," said an aide from the dark navy raincoat. "You're on in 30 seconds. Marquis barely had a chance to look up before they turned and headed back up the metal grate stairs. The whole staircase shifted and changed with each step. The aide's job was to get him on stage at the right time. Nothing more. Not that it mattered. He had to give his speech. That was why everyone was here. Why anyone wanted to waste their time listening to some old admiral was beyond him. There was nothing new to say, and so little time left. A hand on his shoulder snapped him back. He'd been drifting off into thought a lot lately. Too much to think about. Too many unpleasant thoughts he didn't enjoy having. Looking to the owner of the hand, he saw her dull blue eyes looking back. They used to be bright and filled with life. Now they were cold like. A wet spot erupted on his cheek. He wiped it away and glanced up at the side in relief. The rain had leaked through a seam in the tent roof. It wasn't even shoddy craftsmanship. It was just raining that hard. Marquis forced himself to look back into her dull blue eyes. He hated that she felt the same way he did, but mostly he hated that it was his fault. Well, at least partially. She put on a smile, not one that was pained in an obvious way, but one that hid pain in support of another. "This is the job now, Theo," she said. "We just have to focus and get it done." She looked away towards the others behind her. Some were better at hiding the pain than Clara. Some were worse. All 5 of them shared a kinship that no other human shared. The world was on their shoulders, and they couldn't fail. Everything was at stake. Theo nodded. "This is the job now," he said, turning to meet the gaze of the aide returning from the metal grate stairs. Neither of them had to say anything. Marquis headed towards the stairs. There was time. At the top of the stairs, he could see some of the crowd standing in the pouring rain. He reached in his jacket and took out a stiff folded paper. It felt expensive. The aide gave the signal, but before he could head out, the sound of the other 4 opening their umbrellas behind him gave him pause. "Don't cover me," he said. "This is a speech that should be delivered in the rain." Whether by his tone or expression, they knew not to question the request. He stepped out into the rain and went behind the podium. 2 of his companions placed themselves on one side and 2 on the other. Large droplets rapped against the umbrellas, sending small sprays his way. He looked up to the largest crowd he'd ever seen, struggling to pull his eyes away. He feigned a cough and peered down at his papers. The raindrops made heavy splashes on the thick paper before soaking in. Marquis took a deep breath. "In this humanity's darkest hour, we must focus on the light. Never before in our collective history have so many from so many different cultures come together to strive and work towards a singular purpose, the continuation of our species. It was not our hubris that brought us to the brink of annihilation, but a cosmic roll of the dice. The odds were stacked against us, and we had a job to do." Marquis willed his face to look resolute, despite the weather's determination to wash it away like words in rain. Blue ink streaks were running down the page as he folded the soaked papers and put them in his jacket pocket. He'd memorized the speech a long time ago. "In 1969, we went to the moon, not because it was easy, but because it was hard. Now, in 2042, we must leave our native star system, not because we want to, but because we have to. 23 years ago, our scientists detected 57 stellar mass black holes approaching our solar system on a collision course. The riots, death, and calamity were widespread for 3 long years. Those were truly sad days. We fought each other when we should have worked together. We hated when we should have loved. The worst of all, we wasted our most precious commodity. Time. Time to be together. Time to enjoy life. Time to find a solution. Fortunately, in the end, reason and compassion won out over our baser instincts, and we emerged from the ashes stronger and more unified than before. He looked out into the crowd. The people in the back were invisible to him through the sheets of rain, but he knew they stood still and silent like statues. The wet air chilled him to the bones. This was the birth of Project Ark. The world over, ideas were sorted and catalogued, plans were made and tested, and a final strategy chosen. We would leave Earth, our home, in search of a safe haven amongst the stars. Our first interstellar trip would be fraught with danger and would require all we, Earth, and the entire solar system had to give. We were going to save humanity at all required costs. Marquise shuddered as the crowd chanted the words in unison. They had become a mantra for everyone, the project that would save them. Not even the cold rain could drown out the cry. We stripped mine the mother that gave us life for all she was worth. We drained her lakes, ripped out her forests, and stole the very earth from whence she got her name. This was her last gift to us, anything we needed to survive. We started a massive conservation campaign, storing as many animals and insects as we could, and gene sequencing those that we couldn't. Next, we struck out in the rest of the solar system, gathering more raw resources and performing test flights. A lot of brave souls chose to sacrifice what little time they had left on Earth to go out and ensure our valiant efforts succeeded. We were racing against the clock, and many people died as a result. Accidents happened, and mistakes were made. Never forget the lives lost in the Asteroid 8 disaster. He trailed off and lowered his head. Water poured down from the sky, dripped off his hair and over his face. The sound of rain soaked the moment of silence, and those that observed it. At all required costs, said Theo softly. At all required costs, the crowd chanted back. And we've paid that cost time and time again. We've ravaged the earth and left her barren and polluted. We've sent our sons and daughters to die in the cold of space. But now, he said, slamming his fist in the podium, now it is time to reap the reward. Humanity will live on. Those of us chosen and trained will live on, he said, gesturing to his 4 companions. Those of you who've won the genetic lottery will live on. 100 million humans will live on in humanity's new home for the next 7 years. 4 counter-rotating O'Neill cylinders escorted by asteroid-based support ships. On these ships we will travel to the closest planet, Proxima Centauri b, and make it our home. If it cannot be made suitable for human habitation, then it will journey on until we have found a planet that we can call home. Marquise took a deep breath and steeled himself for the next part. To those of you who we are leaving behind, I sincerely wish that we did not have to. The crowd started to chant at all required costs, but Marquise raised a hand to silence them. Confused looks and murmurs were exchanged, but Theo waited for them to die down. I chose not to opt in my family on my chosen status. Instead, I elected for them to have the same chances that everyone else did in the genetic lottery. Following my example, he said, looking to the people on either side of him, my executive officers have done the same. Only one of our family members won the lottery. Each and every one of us leaving tomorrow is experiencing loss. We will carry this burden, this sorrow, this cost, for the rest of our lives, regardless of whether or not it was required. Humanity will live on, but you and Mother Earth will not be forgotten. Thank you. Thunderous applause. Admiral Theo Markey leaned his head. He looked at the dark grey sky as the rain washed it all away. Now the real job started. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Marky, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.